Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Friday, March 7th, 2025 by Gaia Blooming. I'm Mimi and our energy mantra for today is I am responsible for allowing the process of the feels. And I've been telling you all week for Friday that we have the Sun and Mars working in a trine. We also have the Moon moving into Cancer. And for Saturday we will have the Moon and Mars working together, and the Sun and Moon in a trine. So what I'm saying basically is it's a watery weekend. It's a good time for feels. Now it's interesting because we are building to an eclipse. We have an eclipse on Thursday. Wait, let me make sure I'm doing this right. Thursday, Friday next week, depending where you live. Full moon, lunar eclipse. And, you know, the build to a full moon already can stir up emotions, and the eclipse just can expand that energy. Now, this full moon eclipse is in Virgo. And Virgo, I can't say Virgos aren't feelers, but Virgos generally lean in the direction of overthinking more so than feeling. So the universe is so clever. It's like, here, I'm going to give you an opportunity to move through the feels this weekend. So Friday, Saturday with the moon in Cancer, even a little bit into Sunday, we've got the feels going on. So be prepared and allow your personal flow. And let's remember that the feels aren't necessarily always sadness or disappointment, unhappiness, crying. Feels can also be joy. It can be anger. It can be frustration. So many layers of things. I actually got really positive cards from this deck, and I got really more challenged cards from this deck. So we have a little of both. Let's look at today's energy. So like I said, we're building to this Sun-Mars trine. That happens at 9:13 p.m. Pacific time, that exact point. But like I said, we're going to be feeling the feels through the day. The moon moves into Cancer fairly early, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. Moon in Cancer is going to start bringing on more water energy. We already have a lot going on in Pisces. Here's a little more. And Cancer specifically really does take us through, I don't know how to differentiate it from the feels of Pisces. The feels of Pisces might be deep and not necessarily as easily brought to the surface and described and even experienced. But Cancer kind of wears their heart on the sleeve a lot of times. And so the feels are right there and they're really ready to be experienced. So there can be a lot of depth with all the Pisces energy, but also, you know, you might see a spider and start to cry. It just might be kind of one of those weekends. Or you see a commercial and you start to cry. Just one of those kinds of energies. So as we move through the day, we actually wake up with the moon in Gemini squaring Neptune. Might wake up in a little confusion. I've had really confusing dreams this week. Really confusing. Like, usually I'm pretty good at looking at my dreams and being like, oh, I know what's going on. I see my subconscious. This week I was like, what? I think it was more mind dumping that was happening in my dreams than messages. But even if there's confusion, it's still recognized in your dreams or daydreams or subconscious. There's a lot of energies. There could be messages coming through. Try to get grounded to allow them to move through. I'm now thinking about my dreams, and especially the one I had this morning. I'm like, really, what? Moon in Cancer will square Mercury. Mercury preparing to go retrograde this next week as well. Not quite yet, not quite there. But Moon square Mercury. So again, kind of a little bit of confusion. We have our feels going on, but Mercury in Aries might be like, and again, even that can be confusing. Like, wait, am I not supposed to stop and feel this? And no, thank you. So be aware if you're stuffing anything, if you find yourself distracting yourself with food or watching something. I'm not saying that's bad, but you may be kind of pushing it away, and it might be something to come back around to when you're able. Sun and Mars. Now this is a trine. So a trine is a happy, supportive connection. But we have to recognize that feeling the feels is supportive. If you are crying, you are releasing hormones, you are releasing toxins from your body, you are releasing stress. Hello, that's a good thing, right? If you're laughing, hello, you are healing your body. If you are feeling frustration and you are actively moving through it, there is power and healing even in that. So embrace. Embrace. Now, I do want to mention, like I said, Saturday is going to have some more of this. And we're going to have a combination of the moon and Mars on Saturday. Moon and Mars, that is always some kind of recipe for frustrations. Now, Mars is still at 17 degrees where it went direct. It has moved minutes, so it has moved minute miles, but it's still moving slow. And I know the slowness of some things unfolding has been frustrating for many of you. And I'm going to tell you still, while we're in Venus retrograde and as Mars is still getting to move and we're doing these eclipses, patience is your friend. But when I pulled the first card from these color cards, this frustration card came flying out. It wanted to be known again. And so if you are feeling frustrated, again, are you trying to put a round peg in a square hole? And can you shift your energy about that? Because sometimes what we need is a perspective shift. Now, this is the possibilities card, but here, this bird, this eagle is getting a different perspective. And a lot of times, that's what we need to shift a situation, is a different perspective, especially if you've been holding the one perspective that you have. So be aware of that if you are feeling that frustration. And the perspective might be, it's okay that this thing is taking time, that there is such a thing as divine timing. And a lot of times when we kind of surrender into it and work with the universe instead of like pushing against it, we find it unfolds naturally a lot more easier. Let's see what else we've got here. We've got the playfulness card. Now, this water energy can also be highly creative. And even if you are feeling a myriad of feels, there are playful ways to move through them, right? So whether you're playing in your sandbox or you're dancing around, communicating, hashing it out with a friend, there's so many ways where we can break these chains and break on through. And I love that we have this card next to the Fool card. So we're breaking through something old and we're making way, even if it feels like it's moving slow. I do have the Fighting card in reverse, so I'm just saying, if you do end up using that Moon-Mars energy, it doesn't feel so good, right? So see where you can avoid duking it out. That being said, let's look at the rest of these cards. So this is the first card I pulled, the Disruption, and then came out, flying out the Frustration card. And then came through Pain. Think there's just some emotional processing, sadness, and finally caution. I was looking for like, are we gonna get like a positive word in here that we can look at? So again, there's a myriad that we're experiencing, and it's all okay. I think the caution is just like, you know, again, kind of like that Fighting card. Be aware that everybody's going to be feeling some layer of the feels this weekend, you know, and if you push their buttons, you may get their frustration reaction happening. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to be doing write-ups for this weekend. We'll see what cards come up. Besides that, this is your last chance to book a reading for the eclipse readings, being that they are happening next week. So reach out for that if you would like that or any other reading. Email me, mimiclark@gmail.com. And the better it gets, the better it gets. There's more than enough love in the world for you. You have the power. And remember who you are, for you are the solution. Namaste. Oh, wow, I went right back to it, didn't I? Autopilot. No. Yes, remember who you are. I mean, that's one of the other eclipses coming in, right? Is Aries. But may your guiding light be strong. And know that you can trust the process. Namaste.